just wait to see the number of participants make it into the 6 digits and then?
Wouldn't that be great?
What's your goal, Nikki? Can we hear from Nikki? Is there like a voice of Nikki or no?
There is not. She is not on.
That would have been nice.
It would have been.
Yeah.
She just texted me, we're live. So if there's anybody out there watching other than our AmeriCorps Vista Nikki Erdman, welcome to our first Facebook Live session. We'll get started in just a couple minutes at the top of the hour.
And I would assume we're recording and sharing after the live, right?
We will be. I'm going to press record here momentarily.
Very good.
So any of you that have to leave early and want to watch our entire Facebook Live session, you can come back to our Facebook page and do that. You can also share with your friends, hey, there's this great Facebook Live session for you to watch, and they can watch the session in its entirety. So a couple more minutes, we'll wait until the top of the hour, and then we'll get started. Grab your coffee if you haven't already. Anne's got hers. Excellent. Coffee, tea, whatever you need to kick off the morning with us.
I'm good to go.
And I can see that there are 2 people watching currently. That means 1 more than our own Nikki Erdman. So whoever you are, thanks for joining us.
Do we want to play a game and guess who they are, Spencer? I think it could be Haley Thompson. Haley, are you there?
I'm guessing it might be friends and family, certainly,
Sure.
that are excited to see us go live this morning, but hopefully some other people as well.
Could be Leah.
We'll take whoever we can get, right?
For sure. Welcome. Oh, my friend Rhonda is watching. Hello, Rhonda. I should probably watch to see what's being said, right? And Christian Ruvers is watching. Hello to Christian.
Awesome. All right, it is 9 o'clock. I'm going to press record here, and then we'll get officially started. Well, welcome everybody out there in Facebook land. Thank you so much for joining us this morning for our first ever Facebook Live session titled Chat with Spencer. That's me. I'm the Executive Director of Achieve Brown County. And again, we're really excited for you to join us this morning. If you are watching the recording of this, we're excited to have you do that as well. The purpose of our Facebook Live sessions is to tell you more about the work of Achieve Brown County. We are going to first do that through our own voice this morning. I have with me my colleague McCotter, our Director of Collaborative Action. She's going to detail what that means and looks like in our work. But in the months ahead, I'll be sitting down with leaders of our partner organizations so that all of you can hear more about our work through our partnership with them, and most especially the outcomes and impacts that they are achieving in the young people they serve. So as much as today is very much going to be about Achieve Brown County specifically, in the future, you'll hear more about the great work of our partners and how they are making a difference in the lives of young people all across Brown County. So welcome. Thanks again for joining us. In just a moment, I am going to formally introduce my colleague, Anne, but we thought we'd start this morning by sharing with you our video, which tells a really great story about our work through the eyes, ears, and voices of some of our partners. So here we go.
We see is from the time you're born until you get your first job. On occasion, these kids can fall through the cracks because there's not a way to organize and follow them through their life cycle, and even more importantly, anticipate their needs stage and progress through their life.
Sometimes, staff will have 2,000 kids that they're trying to oversee. So to imagine them invest this significant amount of time into one child's life, it's unreasonable.
We have been in a community that is very, very rich with resources, and I would say even rich with passion to support kids.
In our community, one of the drawbacks that we've had is that all those resources, all those organizations in the past haven't really been connected to an overarching goal.
And it wasn't that they didn't want to share. The environment, it could exist for them to come to the table and talk about what they would bring to an effort and how they could contribute.
And that was the purpose of establishing Achieve Brown County.
When you look at Achieve Brown County, it really is a model for how different organizations and stakeholders in the community can come together and achieve something much, much bigger than they can individually. Achieve Brown County is now creating an environment in which all those organizations can come together and determine how can we share information and make a bigger impact in the community. We have so many different organizations that have really important data, healthcare, schools, nonprofits, and the ability to share all that data certainly allows us the opportunity to keep a single kid or a class of kids on track.
And the data system is the glue. Think about the ability to make interface entries when a provider interfaces with a child. Make an entry, build a history, build a ledger. It becomes the basis for assuring that support is both real and anticipated going forward for the kids that need them in the community.
When you back up and you look at the macro data, are there trends that we're seeing that are affected by the environment in which they exist? And once we identify those, can we deploy then additional resources to attack that particular issue? So you're trying to attend to it both on the macro level as well as down on the street level of what is happening with a child every single day.
We do a lot of on-the-ground work through a process, what we call an action team. So we'll bring in different important stakeholders in the community that really have access to these kids. We use data, we have project managers, and really we then have the team members, so people from the school systems and the programs and the healthcare co-create a model or a process where they can, on the ground in a school building, at a clinic or wherever we're working, find the kids and then intentionally have on tap support based on the individual needs of these students. So we really do this together with these system partners to make sure that we can all work together to best serve the needs of the kids.
What I really am excited about is the fact that people are willing to and engaging in important conversations about how do we ensure that every child has what they need for success.
Years down the road, it'll be a point of children reaching their potential as 20-somethings. It'll be the point of current employees dealing less with social issues in their family because there's support there that's readily available. It'll be a point, I think, from a business standpoint, to be able to recruit high talent, top talent from around the U.S., not just the region, but the U.S., recruit the talent into Green Bay because of these sorts of systems and the way the community demonstrates its ability to work together.
Just to make sure that we're using the same tools and speaking the same language. I look forward to our partnership because now that we're using the same tools, our communication should be more effective between community partners. We should be able to look at children that are in the Birth to 3 program, catch them earlier to ensure that their needs are being met.
The values that Achieve Brown County brings to our community is creating a common community agenda.
We have so many people that are so committed and are looking for a way to plug in and use their gifts and talents to make things happen. And this is an opportunity where they can just find that that avenue or that venue to really transform.
We're bringing together systems and partners that have never formally worked together before. When every child is successful in our community is successful as a whole.
The work of raising our kids is the entire community's work. There's so much benefit to this for every element of our community. I mean, that there's clear, measurable benefit for young kids, for young adults. But at the end of the day, we're seeing the culture, the fabric of our community change, where we now are talking together, we're learning together, and that can only help accelerate this community into the future.
So there you go. That is our story as told by a number of really great leaders throughout our entire community, including our former executive director, Adam Hardy, who Ann and I have to thank for bringing us into the work of Achieve Brown County. So what I'd like to do really quickly is just share a short set of slides with you to amplify what you heard in that video. Give me just a second here to bring that up. So here we go. A lot of times people who are introduced to us start by asking, what is Achieve Brown County all about? Rightfully so. We are a backbone organization for collective impact. What that means is that we convene, facilitate, and support, as the slide says, the collaborative efforts of businesses, nonprofits, schools, government agencies, and individual community members to create a truly equitable Brown County in which all young people, and the emphasis on all there is intentional, have exactly what they need to succeed in school, work, and life. So we are working to advance positive cradle-to-career outcomes for all young people in Brown County. That's our mission, and our vision is a Brown County in which all young people have exactly what they need to succeed and thrive in life. We do this work through a process that is shared by a number of other organizations across the entire country in what's called the Strive Together Network. Strive Together is a network of like-minded collective impact backbone organizations in almost 70 other communities across the country. And we all follow the same process for doing this important work, advancing positive cradle-to-career outcomes for young people. The first thing we do is we create a shared community vision. So we work with our key stakeholders, partners, community leaders, and members to build and maintain a shared vision and common framework for measurably improving outcomes from cradle to career. Once we are all aligned on that vision, we then work to leverage the power of data. So we collect, research, and analyze community data from multiple sources, from our nonprofits, from our schools, from government agencies, from healthcare systems, and we use that data to paint a complete picture of what's really going on with our young people. You heard many of our partners speak about that in the video. And ultimately, once we're able to paint that picture of what's really going on, once we're able to fully integrate all of that data, we can then use it to inform and guide the decisions that we make about the actions that we take. And that's the next and final step in our process. We align on and pursue sustainable collaborative action that makes the biggest difference in the lives of our young people and truly affects systems change. So not only are we about improving individual young people's lives, but we're also focused on positively affecting the systems that exist to support those young people. We know that we can't just focus on young people themselves. If we are truly going to make the biggest possible difference in their lives, we also have to improve the systems in our community that support them. All of this is a tall order. It's the nature of collective impact for this work to take a really long time. We like to say that our work is not a sprint, it's a marathon, but we're already starting to see the impact of that. And I'll talk about that in just a moment. Our values are fourfold. We're focused on results. We're focused on engaging our entire community. We're focused on continuous improvement, or making sure that we progress in our work year over year. And most importantly, we're focused on equity. What that means for us is that we seek and value, as the slide says, all types of diversity, and we put equity into action daily and strive to dismantle inequities, including those present in ourselves, our organization, and our community. That work is ever more important right now, given everything that's going on in our own community, our country, and the world. Historically, over the past 6 years, we've made a big difference in 3 different areas. So we'll hear Ann talk about this. We have done these 3 things. We've convened and facilitated a partnership between all 3 major healthcare systems, Prevea HSHS, Bellin Health, and Advocate Aurora, along with the County Birth to 3 program, to develop and implement a standardized system of developmental screening and care for young people ages birth to 5. We have also convened and facilitated a partnership between 4 of the 8 counties' public school districts and multiple nonprofits to implement a standardized system of mentoring supports for middle and high school students, aimed at helping them to get on track and stay on track to graduation. And then lastly, we've built and populated this amazing thing called a community information system, a longitudinal data system for combining all of that data that we collect across all of the entities with which we work to paint that picture of what's really going on and inform the action that we take. We are the only county in the country where all 3 of these things exist. We're incredibly proud of that. The community information system in particular is truly unique to us here in Brown County. There is no other community in the country that has such a system, and there's no other community that has figured out how to partner with healthcare systems to put healthcare data into the system and combine it with student record level data from our schools and data from nonprofits and government agencies. I have to say here that we do this following all applicable laws and statutes and regulations related to data sharing. We take very, very seriously our responsibility to protecting data. All of this data is de-identified. None of it can point us back to in the name or any identifiable information of any one young person. All of that is removed before we have access to it. So if you're concerned about that, just know that we take very seriously our responsibility to protect all of this data and use it in the most safe way possible for the benefit of our young people. All of this work has led us to creating the conditions for community-led collective impact that have led to significant improvements in 5 of 6 outcome areas critical to the success of our Brown County young people. In all of the work that we do, we are currently partnering with over 35 entities, 16 nonprofit organizations, 14 educational institutions. Those include school districts and post-secondary institutions, 3 healthcare systems, 3 government agencies, and 1 sovereign nation, the Oneida Nation. Here's our community outcomes dashboard. This is how we ultimately measure our success with our partners in our collective impact work. And in each of the 5 areas where we're currently measuring our progress, we have seen significant gains over the past 5 to 6 years. I'm not going to go over these in great detail right now. I'm simply going to invite you to look at our dashboard on our website and explore how we have moved the needle in 5 of these 6 areas significantly as a result of creating the conditions for community-led collective impact. When I say we've moved the needle, I'm really not talking about Achieve Brown County. I'm talking about all of our partners who have embraced the work that we do through collective impact and have aligned around how they're going to affect positive change in all of these outcome areas. So it's them we have to thank. And again, you'll hear more from them directly in our future Facebook Live sessions. One last slide to share with you, and then I'm going to invite Ann to tell us about the work that she does. Over the past 6 years, since we were founded in 2014, we've really been focused on developing that shared community vision for our work and creating those conditions for a community-led collective impact that have led to some pretty remarkable results. In the next 5 years, from a strategic standpoint, we're going to be focused on truly leveraging the potential of all the data that we've worked really, really hard to collect and are in the process of analyzing to really paint that picture of what's going on, and then ultimately inform and guide the collaborative action that we will continue to take in the latter 5 years of this decade to make the biggest possible difference on the lives of our young people and affect true systems change. So I'm going to stop there and turn to my colleague, Ann McCotter. Ann, again, is our Director of Collaborative Action. So she oversees all the work that we do in the third step of our process related to aligning on and pursuing sustainable collaborative action that makes the biggest difference in the lives of young people and affects positive systems change. So Ann, welcome. Thanks for being with me this morning.
Thank you, Spencer.
My pleasure. So I'm going to ask, as you know, you a series of questions, beginning with, tell us about you personally. So why did you come to Achieve Brown County, and what inspires you most about the work that you get to do every day?
Sure. I came from a background in HR leadership roles, strategic HR, change management, learning and development. I've been facilitating teams for a number of decades when I took a little break from the corporate world and the HR world that I was in, and really had time to think about what do I really want to do? What would be really meaningful for me? And so I did really a pivot, and I decided when I read the job description at Achieve Brown County to really work in collaborative action and collective impact. It just seemed like everything that I was interested in. I haven't worked in the education sector, but I get to in my world at Achieve Brown County. I hadn't worked in healthcare, but I get to in my world with Achieve Brown County, as well as working and impacting in the nonprofit space and the business space. So I took my background and all of the experience I had from the business world and working in industries such as wholesale and retail and manufacturing. And in that HR space, you get to be somewhat of a business consultant. But I took all of those skills, as well as a master's in positive org development and change, and applied it to the work I get to do to improve outcomes for kids and young adults 0 to 26 in Brown County. It's really the most important work I've ever done. And I'm inspired every day.
That's awesome. So tell us more about what collaborative action really means, what it's all about, because I'm guessing that there are some people out there that maybe at a high level get what that means, but give us a broader and deeper sense of what collaborative action really is all about for us.
Right. I like to explain it and say, there are many complex problems that are just so challenging that one organization couldn't solve it on their own. So if you think about the high school graduation rate, we have a 93% high school graduation rate in Brown County, which is good and it's improving. But we really want to see 100% of students graduate high school because that leads to success in later life, being able to have a living wage and being able to have health care, health insurance, those sorts of things. Like high school graduation is really important. And so one school district isn't going to fix that really big systems problem on their own. So in fact, we brought together for the work called the Graduation Task Force, 3 different school districts and 4 nonprofit mentoring organizations to really look at what is the problem, identify the problem, look at it really, really critically, and then understand what can we do to really move that number in the right direction. And so that work was a year in terms of laying the groundwork, a year of planning for the systems change, and now we're in year 3 of testing that system. But we did that not with 1 school district, but with 3, and not with 1 nonprofit mentoring organization, but 4. So we bring business to the table. So it's really about bringing all of those diverse entities together to solve really complex problems they couldn't solve on their own, and they do it together as a team.
Great answer. Thank you. So you mentioned the Graduation Task Force. Tell us more about that and provide us a few other examples of specifically what our collaborative action teams do on the ground.
For sure. It is exciting. At this point in time, as you know, Spencer, we have 6 collaborative action teams, and that's more than we've ever had before. So it's hard for me to only speak to 2 or 3 of them, but I will. I know that I have a time allotment, right? So the Graduation Task Force is all about increasing that high school graduation rate. And I think it's really important for you to understand in Brown County, in our 6th through 12th grade, there are 24,000 students in any given year. And of those 24,000 students, roughly 6,000 of them, or 25%, are identified as at risk of dropping out of high school. And we know that just based on an algorithm that the Department of Public Instruction has put together, and that includes things like academics, what are the grades, and attendance, are they attending school regularly, and behaviors. So all of those sorts of things come together to really determine if a student is at risk. And the Graduation Task Force designed a methodology or a system to be able to detect and understand who those students were and know, and be able to then offer a support for them. So determining the right support in terms of mentoring, and even is mentoring right for them, is really critical. And then getting that student referred to the mentoring organization from the school is actually a big deal. And it's something that didn't exist before the work of this team. So again, working in a collaborative action model, the Graduation Task Force designed that system so that those students could be identified and they could get the supports early on, thus enabling them to graduate high school. And those supports are really mentoring supports. So the partners that have been involved in that work since the beginning are the Boys and Girls Club. And what's really exciting about that work is that when we started the Boys and Girls Club Be Great Graduate program, was in their clubhouses, and they would serve students and were very successful. But through the work of the Graduation Task Force, they designed the system where those full-time graduation specialists from the Boys and Girls Club would be embedded in a local middle school or high school. And this kicked off really 2 years ago, but now we're at the point where the Boys and Girls Club has 10 full-time graduation specialists, each of them mentoring 20 students in middle and high school. And so there's 200 students in Brown County this year, in this school year, who will be mentored within the Boys and Girls Club Be Great Graduate at their own school or virtually in our offsite learning model for sure. But that's really making a difference for those 200 kids that otherwise were at risk of not graduating. So that's one example. Big Brothers Big Sisters is involved in that work as well. And this year in total, we'll have over 250 students that have mentors because of the Graduation Task Force. Now you might remember I mentioned 6,000 students.
Right.
That really need some help. So we need more mentoring supports. And even this morning, Spencer and I got an email from a partner in the community who wants to offer more mentoring supports, and we're going to work to get that going. So there's a lot more work to do. We're in year 3 of the Graduation Task Force, more to come. So that's all about high school graduation. And beyond that, I would serve up an example from our earlier childhood work. Action Team 1.1 is our longest standing action team. And that's really all about identifying any developmental delays. And that work is in 0 to 3-year-olds. So when they're really, really young, a developmental delay could be a speech, a language delay, a gross motor delay. But all those things, once diagnosed, then there's support that needs to be given to ensure that kids have the best chance at success in life and readiness for kindergarten. So Action Team 1.1 is really about making sure that any developmental delays are caught and identified and supports are given. And that's really, really important. If you think about kids entering 4K or 5K kindergarten, if they have a delay that was not diagnosed, then they're behind. And it's a lot to get caught up. And so we look at metrics like 3rd grade reading proficiency as one of the things to measure if kids were ready for kindergarten and how are they doing in 3rd grade.
Yep.
All of this work is based in equity and making sure that every child in Brown County has an equal opportunity at success, whether it be kindergarten readiness, 3rd grade reading, high school graduation. So that's Action Team 1.1.
Awesome. Great overview of both of those teams. And that really paints a picture of how complex this work really is. So one of the misperceptions that people have had about Achieve Brown County over the years, in large part based on the complexity of our work, is that we're doing all of this, right? Certainly we're partnering with some really great organizations to affect this change, but we are not, like they are, a direct provider of program and services to young people. We're not the ones working directly with young people. So Ann, tell everybody more about the role that we play in all this, what that looks like.
For sure. We facilitate the teams. We bring the people together to work on those, complex problems. So we recruit team members. So in Action Team 1.1, when we're looking at early childhood delays and making sure kids are ready for kindergarten, it's about our 3 healthcare systems. So we have Bellin, we have HSHS Prevea, Advocate Aurora are all involved, as well as the organization that really serves most of those supports in terms of referrals, and that's Birth to 3, which is part of Health and Human Services for Brown County. So those are the organizations involved, but we don't directly, ABC, we don't directly support kids and offer direct services, as Spencer said, but we're facilitating the team, and we facilitate the team in terms of identifying what's the problem and then thinking through the types of solutions that are possible. And we always do this within a project management approach. And so we have our friends at Schreiber to thank for that. They have shared tools that they use in enterprise project management with us. So we utilize those project management tools. And then we do one of 2 different paths in terms of our collaborative action work. The first option is always continuous improvement. To look at the data, look at the system, identify what's working well and what needs to be fixed, and then with the team continually assess and review the data and talk about what's going on and make it better, and then look at how are we doing. So that's continuous improvement. And then the other option we always have is design thinking, and that's really more pertinent to what we did with the graduation task force and what we're doing on a team called the Community Online Ages and Stages Questionnaire System. And really in that world, the team has designed a way in which to move from a paper-based system to look and analyze and provide developmental delay screening to an actual electronic system that shares information real time within the community, from healthcare systems to school districts to public health and Birth to 3, as well as nonprofits. And so we always use project management and typically go in a direction of continuous improvement methodologies, or we go into that design thinking mode. But in all of this, ABC is a facilitator. We don't decide what the solution is. We always look to the team to decide, because we are not the subject matter experts. We can't tell you what's the right thing to do to get someone to graduate high school or to be ready for kindergarten, but we have the subject matter experts on the team who know, and we guide them and facilitate conversation and dialogue and review of data, always grounded in data, to make sure the team is set up to be able to make those decisions. But we ABC don't make the decisions, it's the team.
Which is a really important point to underscore. That is what we really mean by acting as a backbone organization for community-led collective impact, right? We work behind the scenes to convene, facilitate, and support the great work that you talked about. And all of that work was originally envisioned by the partners themselves and resourced by the partners themselves as well. So in both of the approaches that Anne, you described, continuous improvement and design thinking, we are always seeking to align our partners, not just on a shared vision for what that work really looks like, but in a way that allows them to share their resources, leverage their resources collectively. We're not necessarily in the business about creating new resources. We're most so in the business about leveraging existing resources. We're really resource rich in this community. In the greater Green Bay area in particular, we have the benefit of lots of great people and organizations who have invested their time, talent, and treasure in all of the organizations with which we partner. And then we're now bringing together in collective impact. So we're very resource rich. And our work is to figure out how to spread those resources across the entire community in a way that makes the biggest difference moving forward. So we are just about at time. I have one more question for you, Anne, and that is simply, is there anything else you want to tell us about you, your work, what you're most excited about as you look to the future in the work that we do?
You know, it's been an exciting week, Spencer, and I'm just thinking of the things that are happening most recently, but we've had meetings ranging from digital access for students in K-12 and post-secondary, and given offsite learning and hybrid models and everything that's come at us based from the start of COVID and the pandemic, it's exciting to think about being able to increase the opportunity for kids and young adults to learn in this virtual world, right? And so there's really a great team that's in place to focus on that. So it's exciting to see that coming together. It's very techy, which is not my normal comfort zone, but I am excited every time that meeting comes up and to think about what that team is doing. And I feel like I'm improving in the techie space too. So that's been exciting. And then just yesterday, we met with a team that's really working on the problem of, given the pandemic. So these newer teams are really a response to COVID-19 for sure. And there's some really amazing organizations in the community working to find a solution for students in elementary school who now need childcare because their school day is either off-site and they're doing their learning online virtually, or it's hybrid and there are some days that they're off-site and learning virtually. And the reality is, in some cases, families cannot spend the money to pay for childcare during the school year when normally kids would be physically in school. And so those organizations include the YMCA, the Boys and Girls Club, We All Rise. We just have an excellent group of people focused on figuring that out. And there's certainly a number of slots and kids are being served now, but there's a greater need. And so as a community, we're coming together to figure that out and solve that really complex problem. So I'm excited for what the community is doing. As Spencer had mentioned, and even in the video, we have a really generous community filled with people who care and want to make a difference. And I get to work with those people every single day in really diverse ways, from healthcare to business to education, post-secondary, K-12, nonprofits. It's amazing what's going on in Brown County. And so if you don't know about it or see it, just know that we're in a really, really great space. So I'm grateful to be here, excited for what's coming.
Cool. And I couldn't agree with you more. I think one of the greatest joys that I have personally had, like you have shared as well in the work that we do, is the opportunity to work with so many great people and organizations across our entire community. I've lived in Brown County now for over 20 years. I'm a transplant. I didn't grow up here, but moved here as a result of marrying somebody who grew up here. And one of the things I first realized about Brown County, the greater Green Bay area, is how amazing the people are here, the sense of community that we all share, the amazing generosity and commitment that people have to our community. And in our work, we get to further that every single day. So you're absolutely right. It is incredibly rewarding work. Well, that brings us to the end of our very first Facebook Live session. Again, we're thrilled that you joined us today. Whether you joined us live or watching the recording of this, we would welcome you to engage with us further. You can certainly follow all of our social media posts on Facebook and Twitter and LinkedIn. You can go to our website and learn more about the work that we do there. You can contact us directly and get to know us virtually in person if you choose. We welcome the opportunity to meet with you as well, but we're just so grateful that you are interested in supporting all of this great work that we convene, facilitate, and support on behalf of all of our county's young people. So thanks again. Have a great rest of your Thursday. In our next Facebook Live session, you're going to hear from Christian Ruvers, our evidence-based decision-making manager. That's a mouthful, but he oversees all the work that we do with data. It's the important step that comes before the work that Anne oversees. And you'll hear from him in our next Facebook Live, which we're going to schedule here very soon. So keep an eye on our Facebook feed for that. And we'll see you next time. Thanks, everybody. Have a great rest of your day.
Thanks, Spencer.
Thanks, Anne.